Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. This is a reading for Cancer Rising, or if you just have significant Cancer placements in your chart and are needing a neutral energy to help harmonize masculine and feminine energies within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Cancer, I pulled your cards. Let's get started. The intuition that I was getting for your reading today is that I feel like you're in a difficult position right now where it's kind of feeling like you've been asked to leave something, like a certain situation. It feels like you're on the outside of something where you would rather be on the inside, like part of a group, for example. And it's kind of like you've been ousted or like been asked to leave is basically just how it's coming through. And the cards here are absolutely confirming that for me. We'll go into what they are, where it's kind of, well, the first one out was the Three of Swords, sorrow, right? Obviously not an ideal situation, feels quite difficult, perhaps heartbreaking, but it's just, there is hope is kind of what this message is wanting to bring in for you. Obviously that's not like an easy thing to hear when you're in a situation of Three of Swords, of like feeling on the outside, but it's like here, I feel like because of this situation that you're in, all of these cards, I'm not going to go through them individually, is that because of this contrast is how I'm going to put it, there's actually something coming in, like something like a friend or support or new guide or something, somebody, an energy who's going to help you through whatever this transition is. And it feels very lovely and sweet. And I feel like that's what the message is wanting to focus on, because it's kind of like the message is not wanting to focus on the situation that you're leaving or being asked to leave, because whatever that thing is, it's like it's done. There's nothing else that you can do about it. So it's kind of like this energy here that's coming in is wanting to help you to move past it, or to see sort of like the silver lining of the situation. And I know that's kind of like, of course you need time to grieve. Of course you need time to sort of like process whatever it is that happens. But this is sort of like the bright light that you should follow in order for you to move past whatever the situation is. So we have here like the phoenix, which I always talk about as being sort of like the phoenix burning up, right? Like the whole like death rebirth cycle. This is the death portion of it, the most difficult portion of it, where it's like there could be some sort of shift in your security, right? Like the root chakra related kind of energy, where it's like how you feel safe, your home, your sense of belonging, that kind of thing is going through a major transition right now. And with the rabbit, I see this as being sort of like fearful. There's worry about what next, perhaps. And then with the deer here, this is the friend, right? This is the support, the guide, who is helping you to sort of perhaps process what happened, and also perhaps gain a new perspective about the situation, because I feel like it's already happened. You're kind of already on the outside trying to figure out what to do next, perhaps. And with this combination of cards, because these two cards came out in yesterday's reading as well, I feel like just the theme for water signs this week is just that water signs are playing with fire with varying degrees of success. And I feel like for you, this fiery element that has come into your experience is very difficult to deal with, is kind of how this is feeling. But it's because what's happening, I feel like what's happening in your environment, especially with the phoenix, because it's kind of coming through as like a tower moment, right? Like it's like you're being pushed out of a situation because that situation is not right for you. Because with this black egg, I see this as being sort of like you're holding a vibration that's very strong and pure and authentic is how it's coming through. And so anything else that doesn't match this environment or match your vibration is repelled from it. And especially with the starfish, that was also from yesterday's reading of like, because you're in this vibration so strongly, it's kind of like, it has almost like an immediate effect on others. It's immediately obvious to others, even if they're not like sensitive to energies, like they're, it's still so obvious, like how you're coming through in the situation, that the energies are immediately repelled by it. And that's what's happening here, is that you're being removed from a situation, it feels like, because it's absolutely not a match to you. And this deer is coming into to help you through, because it's like, this is a match. Absolutely. This is a match to your energy. You're repelling an energy, and it feels like I keep saying that it feels like a work environment, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just any situation where you're interacting with other people is kind of how this is feeling. It could be just like a community in general, where it's like that community, because they have such a strong vibration, right? It's almost like a bigger or more dominant energy that you're in. You're the one that has to leave is kind of how this is feeling, because you're, it would be easier in terms of like the momentum of the energy to get the one aspect to leave a situation instead of changing everything else around it, if that makes sense. And so that's sort of what's happening here. And then we're like, with these cards, it's further emphasizing. So you have the Liberty and the To Moon and Back. This is absolutely your energy. So this Liberty card I find so interesting, because Liberty obviously talks about freedom, but I always see this as being sort of like a wish that's hidden, or like caged, a bird that's caged. And this is the bird. This is the bird that's caged. So it could be, anyways, well, we'll get into the cards more detail. This is just like the overall context of what the reading's wanting to discuss and talk about. And then you have here the Sea Witch, which I'm going to come back to. So the first card that you have here is the Moth, which of course talks about leaving darkness, or like having to navigate through a difficult environment in order to seek the light, because where it is that you're leaving is the darkness, and you're going towards the light. And this dragonfly energy here coming out next, I love these two cards together, because it's kind of like the darkness and then the hope, right? But this dragonfly I see as being a very significant soulmate. So it could be like a new friend or a new guide who's coming in to help you make this transition out of this darkness. And with this sort of dragonfly, it comes with a lot of synchronicity. So you could be seeing like a lot of signs that are tied to this one in whatever way. You could be having like a lot of number synchronicities as well, depending on what your specific language is with like spirit and connection and all that. I remember when I met one significant soulmate, I just kept seeing 444 everywhere all the time, and almost to the point where it made me angry because I didn't understand why I was seeing that number so much, right? Like it's something like that. There could be something like that where you're seeing all these signs but not quite seeing why it's happening, right? Like why it's happening, or where this is coming from, that kind of energy. But it's in order, like these signs, these synchronicities are happening in order for you to follow them, right? And how I often like connect more with synchronicities, it's like when I see one, what is it that I was thinking about, or what was it that I was doing that at that moment that I saw it, or like whatever that had happened, and that's sort of an indication of the direction that you should be going towards, or like the thoughts that you should be thinking more of, that kind of thing. That's how I'm interpreting this energy. And so now we're sort of getting into this situation, what it is that happened. So it's coming in here with the Queen Bee and the Nine of Cups. And this is actually the Sea Witch, right? These two cards are coming in together as being the same energy. So it's coming through as being like this is the energy of the place that you're leaving. So if it's like a workplace, it could be a specific person who's asking you to leave. What I was getting with this queen bee, I read this book years ago. It was called The Bees. Can't remember the author's name, but it was a really interesting fiction book, like a story, a novel, told from the point of view of a bee, right? Like a bee within the hive. And the story, like what happened in that story is that, of course, in a hive, there's only one queen bee, right? There's only one queen, the only one who can sort of lay eggs, that kind of thing. They're the center of activity, is kind of how this is feeling. But it's like for you, Cancer, it feels like perhaps you were trying to manifest something where you are in this position, right? Like it's like you're wanting to be the queen. It's not an energy necessarily of competition, right? I feel like it's not like you were like trying to take this one's job or anything like that. You were just trying to manifest for yourself, like that sort of status or position, or that was like your dream, for example, right? To be like CEO of a company. Doesn't have to be the one that you're in. This is just examples. But it's kind of like, because you're manifesting that dream so strongly, right? With the starfish and the black egg, you were manifesting that dream so strongly that that manifestation had no way of getting to you while you were in this situation. Because in that story, The Bees, it's like the character that the main bee that the story is being told from, it's like that bee laid an egg. I don't know if that's the right term. They had a larva, right? But they weren't the queen bee. So it was kind of like there was a bee that was laying, like having babies, for example, but they weren't the queen. And so the only solution, because you can't have two queen bees in the hive, was that the main character, you, Cancer, had to leave the hive. That's the sort of vibe that I'm getting. It's because you can't have two queen bees in a hive, and you're becoming a queen, and so you have to leave and find your own hive, so that it's like it would be more difficult to, there would be too much resistance perhaps in like taking this one out of their hive in order to make you the queen, right? And I don't think that's something that you wanted either. So it's kind of like you're having to leave the situation because you can't have two queen bees in one hive. Does that make sense? Okay, and so now it's talking about you on the outside. So it's like, I feel like you've already left the situation. The situation's already done. There could be this aspect here. There's like an interesting thing here where I feel like there's somebody else in the hive that you left, because it's coming through at the King of Wands. You're coming through as the Queen of Wands, right? And so it's kind of like, perhaps if we're going to continue on with like the works metaphor, it's kind of like you were starting to display some aspect of your truth and authenticity, right? Something like that. Vibrancy. You're very clearly shining or glowing, or like holding a vibration where it was very clearly obvious that you were like a star on the rise kind of thing. And this one here is coming through as like a really supportive friend. It could be somebody that you have like a romantic interest kind of energy. It could be that, where it's just like they supported you perhaps in this situation, right? Like they were always there for you, that kind of thing. And it's kind of like they're still on the inside. They're still part of that hive, is kind of how this is feeling. And it's kind of like perhaps that's where the Three of Swords is because you're not necessarily that the situation ended, which I feel like, yes, of course, there's heartache because of that. But it feels like it's more so tied to this one, of like the fact that this one's still there and you're on the outside, perhaps. That's sort of where, like, it's almost like a side story, which I'm going to come back to, but I feel like I just wanted to mention that now. But anyways, so this is talking about like now what it is that you can sort of focus on, because the Six of Cups is coming out. So I'm seeing this as like you on the outside looking in. It could even be something that happened in the past, right? Where you're just like looking back on a situation that this happened. So it might not be a recent thing. It might be something that you're looking back on and it are now trying to integrate, or that kind of thing, perhaps. And then here you have the Butterfly Garden and Sleeping Beauty's Dream, which is really interesting because I feel like what this is talking about with the dragonfly is that this card's to me looking like synchronicities, of following synchronicities. Also something with the Sleeping Beauty's Dream. It was talking about clearing out sort of any tangled thoughts, right? But I was also getting here, like when I was preparing for the reading, I was getting like the intuition of things like pay attention to when you are about to fall asleep and when you're just waking up, and the energy that you have when you're in that state, because there could be insights about sort of your situation. You may be getting like guidance or messages perhaps when you're in that state, like when you're like in that state where you're not quite awake yet, right? But you're still aware that you're not sleeping. I hope that makes sense. It's that energy. There could be really significant sort of synchronicities or messages or guidance that comes through when you're in that state, and to pay attention to that, because that could help you clear energies that are needing to be cleared, and also go towards energies that you should be going towards, based on sort of your guidance and all that. So I feel like there's more that wants to be talked about in those two cards, but I'm going to go through these ones to sort of explain it, because you have here the My Dear Friend, right, which is the deer, the friend who's coming in. And then the Journey, which I really love, because these cards have very similar energies but it's kind of like starting again, right? This is the starting again energy. This is the sort of ending, because I feel like it's almost like this one is carrying you out of the situation or helping you through the transition. It was interesting because the last time I used this deck and this card came out, I was talking about this video where I watched this video where they caught on camera a moose like shedding its antlers, right? Like they just like shed its antlers, and they were talking about how that was such a rare occurrence, right? Like the odds of catching a moose in that moment when they were shedding their antlers. But then like a couple days ago, I watched another video, a different video, where they caught the exact same thing on camera, the same moment, the same synchronicity on camera, but a totally different event. And both of them were saying what a rare occurrence. So there's something here about like, first of all, synchronicities and how that happens, that the universe may be trying to show you a lot of synchronicities, a lot of really rare occurrences that are happening to you and being shown to you in order to get you to follow that thought or follow that direction or that guidance to bring you towards something else, because that's part of the path of the journey that you're being asked to follow, especially with this sort of red ribbon. It's talking about following or going towards the things that are synchronous or coming through as being very rare is kind of how this is feeling. There's something here also about this white dress, because that was a significant symbol in that I received as an intuition, because it could be something like you may be meeting someone new, Cancer. You may be meeting someone new, because it kind of feels like here it's coming through, it's wanting to be, because I feel like this is where the heartbreak is, the King of Wands, and because it's coming through the Two of Cups, but then you have here the Princess of Dreams, which is more so talking about this like Sleeping Beauty's dream energy, where I feel like for you, Cancer, there's this energy of like, because this is talking about like a split, right? From this one, You're now independent with the Princess of Dreams. And it's like with the Temperance card as well. Perhaps waiting for this one. And that could be where the sorrow is with the isolation and the Fool. There's new beginnings. But what's interesting here is that because you have the Fool twice. Definitely a new start. Definitely a new start for you, Cancer. Perhaps on multiple levels, kind of how this is feeling. And what's interesting about this Fool is, right, like, most Fools have the whole thing of, like, about to step into something new, but you don't know what's on the other side. In this case, there's a potential here for, like, one step is going down this way with the crocodile, right? But what I was noticing here today is that little flower on the end, where it's kind of like the flowers, the signs, the synchronicities are actually trying to get you to go in a different direction. To get you to go into a different direction so that you don't go down this path is kind of how this is feeling, because it's kind of like, yes, you are in this new energy of like the Fool having to step into a new thing. But it's like, if you try and go this way, it's not going to, there's a better path that you can take. And you're being guided towards that through the signs and synchronicities that the universe and your guides are trying to show you, is kind of how this is feeling. And what's interesting here is that you have the Death card, absolutely relevant to the overall energy. It's like there's a significant transition happening for you. And it's perhaps making peace with that. But also here with the King of Cups, because I feel like this is somebody new, is kind of how this is feeling. Somebody new where they've, because it's not the King of Cups, or the King of Wands, I should say. It's not the King of Wands. I feel like there's an energy here of like perhaps leaving that one behind, and that might be difficult, and perhaps you're not ready for that yet, but there could be like a friend or like a significant soulmate who's going to help you move through that transition, because you're manifesting somebody to help you, is kind of how this is feeling. Or if it's not so, because I absolutely believe that everyone should be sort of self-empowered and able to do things on their own. But it's kind of like, I feel like in this situation, there's a significant soulmate coming in, right? That's what it's feeling like. And if it's not like a romantic partner, it could just be like a very significant friendship or a new significant guide that's really going to help you in this next phase of your life, is how this is feeling. So it doesn't have to be like a partner or something like that. It's like you are absolutely leaving something behind, starting something new, and this one is coming in to help you through that transition and into the next portion of your journey. And it's interesting that you have Temperance twice, right? Because I've been saying this Temperance is really interesting, because I always see this as being like letting something go and welcoming something in. So there's that energy as well, that you're doing that simultaneously. You're letting something go and also welcoming something in. And there's I've been talking about this Temperance card recently as like quelling fire, right? That's what the Temperance energy is. It's like tempering down any sort of like heated energy, because that's what water signs do. That's what water is for, is to, because I said that there's this theme of fire going through all of the water signs reading. It's like, I feel like whatever it is that happened here in this situation, it was helping you to learn your gifts in maintaining this energy of temperance, of patience, of allowing things to leave your life if they're not meant for you, because whatever the situation absolutely was not a match to you. That's very clear to me, that it's like you did not belong there. There's something here as well about with this energy, the Nine of Cups and the Death, because it's kind of like, I'm seeing this Nine of Cups as being very inauthentic for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that is. It could, because it's like what it is that they actually are is the sea witch. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into this, right? You can see how similar but very clearly different these energies are. On the inside, this energy is actually the sea witch, kind of like perhaps immature or perhaps like underdeveloped in some way, but they're putting on this persona perhaps. But for you with the death card, it's like all of this, the thing that they're trying to do on the outside, that's your energy on the inside, right? That's an authentic expression of who you are, is kind of how this is feeling. So these are not a match because they're trying to, it's almost like an outer beauty versus inner beauty kind of thing. But it's not necessarily beauty. It could be something else, right? Like whatever it is for your thing. It could be like creative expression, or it could be like there's something here about they were trying to put on something that you're naturally gifted at, or that's something that's part of you or your authentic expression, that kind of thing. So it's absolutely not a match. That's why you were being pushed out of the situation, because you absolutely didn't belong there. It's kind of because it's not wanting you to be with this death card, because it's not wanting you to now have like sort of a, it's not wanting you to like cover this up, is kind of how this is feeling. That's the wrong way to put it. I feel like the guidance that's coming through is that they don't want you to, like your guides don't want you to change this aspect of yourself, right? They don't want you to change this. Perhaps it's like some aspect of vulnerability, or like some aspect of your authenticity or your truth. They don't want you to change that, but you may be reluctant to be in this energy again because of the response that came in when you were like that, when you were expressing yourself, that kind of thing. And it's talking about like wherever you're going next is going to be a more supportive, like they're going to support you more in this energy of like being more authentic. That's what this King of Cups is bringing to you. They're showing you a way in which, or providing an environment in which you can be authentic and accepted for it, because this one was not accepting of your authenticity, is kind of how this is feeling. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to leave the message there for you, Cancer. We're going to move on to what's something that you need to know or something that you can focus on. We're in the extended. You can find the information for that in the description box. You can also find info for personal readings if you're interested in that. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.